And okay, so welcome folks who are here to, there we go, to this presentation on kits and mixed media items as one of the special topics in cataloging here. So, and this is obviously something that goes a little bit beyond basics like books and other things, and requires a theoretical approach. So let's think about kits and what a kit is or what it means when we call something a kit. Now, one example is, of course, the book club kit, which is basically X number of copies of a book in a bag that are all checked out together, and folks can do their own book discussion group at home if they want to, which is nice. But when you're making a MARC record for a book club kit, it's not substantially different than for the record would be for a copy of the book. Obviously, you need to change a few things around to indicate that you're getting multiple copies together, but the information is, you know, subject information, publisher information is all substantially the same. So what we're going to be looking at in this seminar is specifically mixed media kits. That is to say, items where you have different formats together, like a book plus a CD, or, well, look at the illustration here. You've got your stuffed animals and your toys and other stuff like that. Now, a lot of these kits contain a book, and we know how to make a MARC record for a book. How do we make a record for a book plus these other things? Well, that's what we're going to be talking about. So, one of the main problems in creating a MARC record is what to do with the fixed fields. And the reason that this is a problem is that when you create a blank record template, there is no template for a kit. There's a template for audiobooks, for video recordings, for books and magazines, but not for a kit as such. And the basic fixed fields that you'll see throughout all these different types are either for text, for audio, or for video, right? I mean, those are the basic formats of library items. Even if it's like a magazine or a computer file even is still often text. Or, okay, computer file may be text plus video, but it's some combination of these. It's assumed that your item will fall into one of these categories, either text, audio, or video. And the problem with this is that most kits have more than one of these. They either have text plus audio, or text plus video, or text plus some random object. So the RDA cataloging standards talk about the concept of a primary component in a kit. And this is an area where we rely on catalogers to exercise judgment in determining what that primary component is. The language in RDA, and I quote, is, "The primary component is the most predominant or substantial resource from among all of the resources that make up the kit." Now, when they say, quote unquote, predominant or substantial, they leave it up to the cataloger to decide whether that means by information content or by physical extent. So the most predominant or substantial item in the kit could be the one that contains the most information, It could be the one that is physically the largest or biggest or has the most number of pages or who knows what. So there's two basic possibilities there, and as the cataloger, it's up to you to figure out on a case-by-case basis exactly how you're going to apply this standard. Now, that said, I would first of all want to let people know that the primary component, do not just decide that, oh, well, we're going to shelve this kit with the other children's books, so therefore the book must be the primary component. You can shelve a resource anywhere in your library. That information all gets entered when you're creating the item record. So you don't have to make that choice at the very beginning, and you shouldn't make that choice at the very beginning. You shouldn't assume that anything that has a book in it means the book is the primary resource. I know librarians tend to like books, but that is reductive and it leaves information out of the catalog that otherwise you could find room for. So related point, second point, don't assume that you can't create a record based off the other components of the kit and still treat the physical resource like a book. So the classic example here is different expressions of the same work in RDA language, or to give a familiar example, a read-along kids book with an audiobook CD included in it. You probably have one of those in your library or something like it. So if we actually create the record for the CD and then add the book information into it rather than doing it the other way around, we get useful information in the fixed fields like how the runtime of the CD and other stuff that might be left out if we're trying to, or if the only MARC record we can find is one for the book. So I want to encourage catalogers to try and find room for this other information by using the fixed fields. And we'll go a little bit further here. I'll kind of show you how it works out in the other MARC fields. But for now, let's just say that if you have, a book plus a CD or even a book plus a DVD, then use a template for a CD or a DVD, enter that information there, and even if you have to just fill the rest of the record in using only information that pertains to the book, there will still also be information pertaining to the other resource there in the fixed fields. So the choice of your primary component also affects how you're going to use the 3XX fields for description. And according to RDA standards, you have a choice here. You can either repeat field 300 and then the RDA material description of 336, 337, and 338 for each resource type in the kit. So you'd make one 300 for the book and then another 300 for the CD. And then you'd make a 336, 337, and 338 for the book and then repeat it 336, 337, 338 with the CD information, which is allowable. Takes a little while. Or you can fill out that information for just the primary component. So here's an issue in choosing the primary component. It may be what information you have for the different resources or can find Um, so another issue here is the 264 field, which you'll recall is for publication, distribution, production, no, manufacture, sorry. And this is also a repeatable field. So again, you have to decide, am I going to fill out the publication information for what I've determined is the primary component, or am I going to repeat 264 and provide this information for each component in the kit? Again, that's not required, but that is an option that exists. So another option, I'd like to jump back here quickly, to the fixed fields. If you look at these, you'll notice that they have in the upper left-hand corner, therein, you can maybe see my mouse that I'm moving here, the code for type. And there's a single letter code there in the box for type. A is for text. Down here, audio. J is an audiobook, as I recall, versus I, which is a music recording. And then down here in video, we have G. I believe that G is a VHS cassette. And there's a different one. Well, no, actually, I could be wrong. Actually, it's the type G is for any kind of video recording, I believe. However, according to the OCLC bibliographic formats and standards page, which is linked in the cataloging standards manual, there's also a letter code O that you can put, and letter code O just means more than one type. It doesn't, however, it doesn't change the other fields in there. So you still have to decide, am I going to fill out the fixed fields according to the template for a sound recording? Am I going to fill it out according to the template for a video recording, or am I going to fill it out according to the template for a text object? Now, so that covers some of the structure of the MARC record. As I've said, you have the option to mark them with a distinct code in the fixed fields, but the rest of the information still kind of breaks down by standard types. You have the option to either describe and give publication for the primary component determined according to your judgment, or for every component in the kit according to how complete you want to make the record. So that brings us then to the question of access points. Access points being RDA language for stuff like the author and title entry and the subject and the genre. This is an issue for kits because a lot of kits have stuff by more than one author, quote unquote. RDA, we prefer creator as the word. You could have in a kit different works by the same person or different works by different people, but the important thing is not to think that a catalog record must by definition have one title and one author per record, no less and no more. That is not true. Field 100 should never be used with a kit unless everything in it is the work of the same author, just as field 100 is not used with most movies and also not used for many anthologies because neither of those are the work of a single creator either. What we do instead is record the information, the names of the contributors using field 700 further down the record. Another thing with kits that you may also see used in records for movies is field 130 for a preferred title or a uniform title. Those are the same things. The old term used to be a uniform title. Now they call it a preferred title. Field 130 is used when there exists or you want to assign a preferred title to a record that does not have a 100 field because it's describing something that is the work of multiple contributors. Okay, so for instance, if you had a kit with a book about Thomas the Tank Engine, and another one about, whatever that tugboat one, and, so things that go, basically, is the title of the kit. You have something to do with trains and something to do with planes and something to do with automobiles. You can add field 130 to the record and put in your chosen title for the kit there in that field as well as in field 245. If the components of the kit each have their own titles, those should also be recorded in the 7XX fields. Specifically, field 740, second indicator 2, is the field for a quote-unquote analytical title, meaning the title of a work that's inside another work, right? And you can find out more information about this by just going to the Library of Congress MARC standards page. Just Google it, you'll find it. And it has instructions and examples there. If the kit is going to share a title with the title of one of the works that is contained in the kit, you would not use field 130 for that. Just put the title in 245 as though you were creating a record normally. Again, you want to list the other titles of the components using field 740, second indicator 2. Unless maybe, well, there's a couple different ones. 740 is the normal choice because it's uncontrolled, quote unquote. There's also 730 for uniform titles if that title already exists as an authority record. And anyway, like I said, the Library of Congress MARC standards page explains this, so go there. Okay, so here's some examples of how this might look when you're writing it, and we're using the flat text view here rather than the ruled view. So field 700 is for an author added entry, and you can do author plus title using subfield T. So if the kit consists of works by multiple creators, you should list the names and then the titles of those individual works that are in the kit. 700, first indicator 1, second indicator 2, subfield A, author name, subfield T, title, and then do that for each component. If you have works that are by all by the same author, like again the example of the book plus the audio book for kids to read along, that's 740, first indicator 0, second indicator 2, and then the title there. You don't need the author name because the author name is the same for each and it already appears in the 100 field for records like that. And you don't need to list the title. If one of the works in the kit is going to give its title to the kit as a whole, then you don't need to use a 740 for that. So hopefully you're with me so far here. Like I said, we'll take questions at the end. Subject headings. The subject headings should be more or less the same as they would be for any of the items in the kit if you were cataloging them by themselves. So that information should be available either in other MARC records or you can go to WorldCat and find it there. Genre and form terms is a little trickier because a kit is not actually a genre or a form either. These are terms that we apply to the components of the kit. Okay, remember, genre describes the content of a work. Mysteries, westerns, romances, these are genres of fiction. Forms are stuff like animated movie versus a live action movie or an audiobook. Those describe a certain form of like the physical form, and also they describe the form of the content to an extent. Again, the point is though that a kit is a really artificial construction, and these existing genre and form vocabularies, they don't contain an entry for a kit. A kit is something that the library creates basically by using the 999 field. And a kit is what you want it to be, basically. It doesn't have its own genre or form. Other fields that we need to pay attention to when we're creating a record for a kit. First of all, do not use field 505 to list the contents of the kit. Field 505 is used for tables of contents in books and track listings for CDs and DVDs. If you want to provide an itemized list of what's in the kit, and you should, use field 500 or field 520 or both, but 505 is not the right choice in that situation. You should also be prepared to include some other specialized fields in the 500 range, such as field 538, system details. You may want to add a system details note that says, CD, audio, DVD, other things like that. In field 040, where you enter your signature, the code for your library in the SAGE system, so we know who input the record. You do need to use subfield A for that if you are creating the record, or even if you're taking an existing MARC record and modifying it to become a record for the kit. By the time you're done, you'll have modified it enough that it's a new record. So subfield A in that situation, in field 040. Oh, and before I jump to the next slide, also the other note here, field 020, which is for ISBNs. If you have multiple ISBNs and you want to add a note in those fields to remind you which ISBN goes with which component, use subfield Q to separate that note from the ISBN itself. Otherwise, the computer gets mixed up and it can't match on that ISBN. This is actually kind of important. We've had issues with duplicate records in the catalog as a result of this. And so that pretty much brings us to the end of the thing here. We have time for questions and comments about how you would apply this in creating a kit. So let me bring this, where is, okay. So let's see if I can, there we go. So just turn my camera on here so you can have something else to look at. And if I can find the thing here that shows me the chat window, then we will take some time to do that. Attendees list, chat. Okay, here we go. Okay, so I've got the chat window open here, and Jenny, if you have any questions that you want to ask about the material here, let's hear them. Just go ahead and type them in the box, and I will answer them for you. So no, that was very good. Okay, so hopefully you're clear on what we mean by the. It's kind of slippery what we mean by the primary component there. So you understand that that is, you should try and determine that on the basis of what information you have available, possibly on what information you want to record in the record so that it's a balance between the different format. It has information that's pertinent to each type of format, which is why I suggest. And the reason for that, I'll just say it here, is if you're trying to make a record out of a kit that includes, a book plus something else like a CD or a DVD, and that they kind of go together, it may be easier to find information for the book than it is for the other thing. But I want to challenge people to get information that pertains to the other audiovisual resource and at least include that information in the fixed fields if they can't fit it anywhere else in the record. What else? I want also to kind of go back over, and this may have been a little complex when we were running through it here, the issue of multiple works by multiple creators in a kit. And because, like I said, this is also pertinent to anthologies and compilations when you're cataloging a book. The way it works is that, like I said, the 100 field is not an absolute requirement. Field 100 is used to describe library resources that are the work of a single person. And when it's not the work of a single person, you don't use field 100. Instead, you use field 700 for each person who contributed, or for at least the people who are mentioned in the statement of responsibility. Field 245, subfield C, right? So if somebody's name appears there, which is copied from the title page or from other sources, then they're important enough to have a 700 field as well. Field 130, the technical name for that is the preferred title as main entry, meaning it's being used in place of field 100 author main entry. And field 130 is not always used. Like I said, for a kit, you would use it to assign a name to the kit that is not the same as the title of anything in the kit. If the title of the kit is also the title of something in the kit, then you can just use field 245 as you normally would. And that, I think, wraps up most of the main points there. So again, this is going to go up on our account, and hopefully, Jenny, you can pass this along to other folks who are working with kits or other kinds of mixed media stuff like this. So unless you have anything you want to add, we'll wrap it up a little bit early here, and I guess I'll go have some lunch. Okay, well, yeah, thank you for showing up, and have a good day. So I'll just go ahead and find the thing here and wrap things up. All right, great. Let's see here.